right, welcome back to the Know Your Numbers REI podcast. I am your host, Chris McCormack, and I am honored to bring you another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 mistakes that most entrepreneurs make, and probably be diving into how you can avoid them as well. The 3 most common mistakes for entrepreneurs. If you get any sort of value out of this, or you know an entrepreneur who can get value out of this, please do us a favor and share it and give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us grow our audience, get in the eyes and ears of more listeners that need this. It's important stuff to be sharing out there, and it would mean the world to us to have you share it. So now that that is behind us, let's get into today's episode. 3 most common mistakes for entrepreneurs. The first one is bad money management. Entrepreneurs, especially beginning entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that are just getting into their growth phase and meeting a certain dollar amount every year, money management is one of the biggest issues. There's a good book out there that I talk a lot about and we'll talk about here, is the Profit First book, and it's written by Mike Michalowicz, and he wrote it because he experienced this. They were making high 6, maybe even 7 figures, but they were spending 7 and 8 figures, and they were always in the red. And the red is not a place that you want to be. And a lot of entrepreneurs, even though they're making a lot of money and good money and doing well, they end up spending a lot more than they can handle, and they don't last because of it. They declare bankruptcy because of it. They have to get a job because of it. They're insolvent because of it. And so bad money management comes down to your habits. And a lot of the issue is not putting enough aside or buying things that you don't need, right? So many people will take the advice of buying a car to write it off on your taxes. You need a car, right? You need to get from point A to point B, but you don't need the most expensive car out there. You can get a car that you can write off on your taxes. It doesn't have to be the $100,000 Cybertruck, right? And too many entrepreneurs fall into the bad habit of poor money management, and they're taking out loans that they can't afford, or they're just stricken for cash because it comes in one account and goes out the next day. And so for you, wherever you are on your entrepreneurial or business journey, this is a mistake that you want to avoid. It's not that hard, and we'll get deeper into the tips that I would give for people that are falling short in any of these 3 areas. But bad money management can be solved by simply putting money aside, right? You're not saving enough for taxes. That is bad money management, right? And we can get your taxes down to a manageable amount or even eliminate them completely. But still, we often recommend that everybody puts aside money for taxes, because at the end of the day, if we eliminate all of your taxes and you have 30% of your income saved in a tax bucket that you no longer need, well, now you can reinvest that in your business, or you can buy your vacation that you've been dreaming of, or you can put money into a retirement account or an HSA account or into real estate, wherever it is, right? And so bad money management is one of the quickest ways to fall off the paved path and into the woods and have a hard time getting back up, because money is crucial. Profit is crucial. And if you don't have profit, which comes from proper money management, right? Profit, if I can make a certain amount of money and then I tell myself I'm putting 10% into my profit bucket, that means that I'm going to be making 10% profit margins. And if I can increase that to 20%, that's 20% profit margin. That right there solves the money problems that you have, the money management problems. This is actually in the Bible. This is one of the things that got me interested in the Bible, is I started reading Proverbs, and I saw that the wise man puts money aside for tomorrow, and the foolish man spends all that he has and more. Or the borrower is slave to the lender, right? If you're having these credit card payments, if you're taking loans out that you can't afford and you're paying all this interest, you're a slave to the lender. And if you are not saving for tomorrow, if you're not putting aside some of your income into a bucket that can be used for an emergency fund or a rainy day or an investment fund, well, then the Bible would call you foolish. And this is not just the Bible that talks about this. All of this advice can be found in some of the financial books that you read. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Dave Ramsey, Grant Cardone says put 40% of your income right away, because it'll save for taxes, you'll save for investment, and it's just a good thing, and it's a good habit. In order to build a net worth of $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, you have to be able to save up and invest. And in order to invest, you need to have a bucket of money that you're investing in. Another poor money management practice that I see is using tax write-offs as an incentive to make purchases that you can't afford, right? I talked about it with the Cybertruck, right? If you can, maybe you need a car, maybe you need, or you want a tax write-off and you need a car and you want to combine the two, you can do that. But if you're doing it by buying a $100,000 Cybertruck that you can't afford and taking a loan out, well, that's not really good money management, and that will put you in the hole much quicker than if you bought a more reasonable car that you could afford. Using tax write-offs as a way to incentivize or to rationalize rationalize your poor purchasing decisions. Travel. You can write off travel. You can write off trips. You can write off meals. But if you're going out and buying the 5-star restaurant every single night, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to lose all of the money that you're working so hard to make. So mistake number one is poor money management. How do you avoid it? Well, managing your money well, putting money aside, reading financial books, read Profit First, get a bucket for profit, get a bucket for taxes, right? Dave Ramsey has the envelope version of this, right? He has the 20th century version where you're putting cash into envelopes that are your specific envelopes for different categories. And if your category runs dry that month, you're no longer buying anything out of that category. Profit First follows a similar method. And I'll be doing an episode on Dave Ramsey and why I love Dave Ramsey, but I know even using that name starts up a bunch of emotions inside of some people. So I don't swear by everything he says, but I do think he is wise in that he says, save for tomorrow and be wise with your money and don't buy things you can't afford. And whether you're making $7 million or $700,000 or $70,000, the practice is always the same. Rich people are able to get that way because they save and they invest wisely. Bad money management, eliminate it. Don't let it go anywhere near your business or your personal financial status. Entity status is number two. One of the bigger mistakes that people get wrong in their entrepreneurial journey is not having the right entity status. Most people will go onto Google, go onto ChatGPT, go onto YouTube, say, what entities should I have for so-and-so business, my wholesaling business? And they find the first piece of advice, maybe a YouTube from somebody, 5 minutes saying, get an S Corp, get a C Corp, stay in LLC, do a partnership. And what they won't do is reach out to that CPA, get on his calendar and say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't know what entity I should be set up. What can I do? What advice can you offer me? You try to find the advice in Google and YouTube and quick, easy ways, easy fixes, but it ends up costing you a lot more. If you have the wrong entity status and you have a profit of $100,000, you choose the wrong entity status, you're overpaying $15,000 a year in taxes by not having the right entity status. But it's not the same for everyone. Some people are better off as being a sole proprietorship. Some people are better off being a partnership. Some people are better off being a C corporation. Some people are better off being an S corporation. You have to meet with somebody who can take a deep dive, see what your goals, dreams, challenges, desires are, and find the solution for your specific needs, right? It's like going to the doctor. I just had an appointment with an orthopedic doctor, and I went there because I was experiencing some troubles with my foot after trying to run a marathon. And I go there, and they're a specialized doctor, and they're giving me specialized advice after getting my x-rays and after asking me questions and after reviewing my foot on their own. They were able to tell what the solution is and what the best practice is. And so now I don't need to get surgery. I don't need to get an MRI. I do have a boot. I am on crutches, and it is not too much of a solution, but it is the right solution. And it wouldn't be the solution I had for myself. I wouldn't have been able to get the solution by going to Google. They would have told me a whole host of different things. They could have said that it was a stress fracture or a broken foot or a high ankle sprain. I wouldn't have had that interaction with the doctor, with the orthopedic or the x-rays to be able to know for sure. And so for you guys as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as real estate investors, you need to get entity status right. It's a huge mistake that most people get wrong. And you do that by getting specialized advice that is tailored to your needs. You don't go to the CPA who's taken on 1,000 clients every year and just churning and burning, churning and burning, churning and burning. You go to the CPA who's able to sit down with you for an hour, talk about what you need, what you're looking for, what you've been through, where you want to go, and give you the advice that you need. I see so many real estate investors specifically come to me with 5 different entities that they just got because they invested in a mastermind, and they said, go to this person to get your taxes and accounting done and your entity status done. And so they go and they're like, okay, you need a management company and a holding company, and you need your property in this LLC and that LLC. Guess what? They just made $5,000 because they set up 5 different entities that you don't need. This is how people are led, but I don't blame you. I know that you're investing in a course or a curriculum, and they're people that you now trust and telling you to go to this person, and you just assume that they should be trusted because investor A or guru A is telling me that they're okay, until you go and then a year down the line you haven't heard from your accountant. You have these 5 entities now that you're paying filing fees on and doing beneficial ownership information reports on and filing tax returns on, but you don't know how they work. And so entity status is a huge problem that you need to get right, but you need to do it by sitting down with somebody who actually cares for you and can coach you through it and give you the answers that you need, because they're able to hear from you and understand what you want to do with this business and where you want to go and where you see yourself and who's involved and what states are you going to be operating. All that plays into what the entity status is that you are. And entity status is one of the 3 most common mistakes that I see with entrepreneurs. The third one is following bad advice or thinking you have it all figured out. I kind of touched upon this, following bad advice, going onto Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is. And I think a lot of good can come from YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. I post regularly on there because I think that there's a lot of people that use it and can use it for good. But what I will always say is that sit down, hear me, listen to this podcast, watch this YouTube video, check out my Instagram, but then take the next step in seeking out expert advice. If you want it to be from us, get on our calendar, see if we're a good fit, see if we have the services that you need. But if it's someone else, take this advice, equip yourself with it, and then go and get the right advice. You know, the Bible, I talked about it in the first one, but the Bible says pride goes before the fall, right? If you think that you have it all figured out because, yeah, my entity status is all set up, I've got an S corporation, or I got a C corporation, or I have a holding company, or I have a management company, whatever it is, then you're not opening yourself up to other advice that could be better. You're bringing yourself into a prideful attitude that will reap a cost in the future. Pride goes before the fall. The fall in this case could be overpayments on taxes, failure to audit proof yourself, overpayments on filing fees, overpayments on attorney fees, overpayments on accounting fees, whatever it is. Pride goes before the fall. If you're puffed up and you think that you have it all figured out and you're not willing to take the advice, then you're going to have a cost that comes in the future. And so another common mistake to avoid if you're an entrepreneur or an investor or a business owner is to think that you have it all figured out. Some of the best business owners that you probably read about or listen to or watch, they say, delegate, delegate, delegate. Find somebody who does it better and do it. Right? If you're on a football team, the quarterback plays one position, but he doesn't expect him to be the best receiver. He delegates that out to Justin Jefferson or Kareem Hunt or somebody else out there. You know, they're stars, but they're good at what they do and they stick to what they know. You are good at running a business. You are good at investing in real estate. You are good at managing properties. You don't need to be good at taxes. You don't need to be good at setting up companies. You don't need to be good at knowing all the strategies. If you think that you have it all figured out, you will fall. So the three most common mistakes entrepreneurs make: 1 is bad money management, 2 is entity status, and 3 is following bad advice or thinking you have it all figured out. Here's what you can do. You can seek out experts. Again, the Bible says, in the abundance of counselors, there is wisdom. So surround yourself with wise counsel. Surround yourself with people who have been in your shoes before and are in a place that you want to go. Surround yourself with people who know the strategies that will save you the most in taxes, and ask them, expect them to deliver on that. Read financial books: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Dave Ramsey, Profit First, Millionaire Next Door. You know, some of these might be seen as boring, but they contain a large amount of wisdom. Proverbs. If you have never read a book in the Bible, Proverbs is a great book to start with. You'll find that a lot of the wisdom, if you're a big reader, a lot of the wisdom that you see in some of these self-help, personal development, financial advice books comes directly from there, whether the author knows it or not. I strongly encourage you to read Proverbs to get financial advice and carry yourself throughout all of business. And then save 30% for taxes. Again, bad money management. Most people that fall into that problem, they have to go into debt and get on payment plans with the IRS. You can avoid that by saving 30% for taxes. It should be more than enough, depending on what state you live in, right? If you're in Minnesota, you might have to pay a little higher. If you're in California, you'll probably have to pay a lot higher. These are some of the things that you can do to set yourself up for success, to avoid these common mistakes that entrepreneurs make. All of this will get you on the straight and narrow and help you avoid some of these costly mistakes. I thank you for tuning in. I trust that this was valuable. Again, subscribe, like, leave us a review, and share it with a friend. It helps us, and we're just honored that you would listen to us and continue to grow your understanding of finances and taxes. Until next time, God bless you and keep moving forward.